you can see just what prides and joys these cars really are. Beautifully presented.
Don Hughes' Peugeot that lines up there on the fourth row of the grid. Do you know, is that an ex BTCC production spec car? One of the...
That's a very good question.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know.
No, I don't know either. But potentially an ex Annie Templeton or Paul O'Neill car.
Yeah,
goodness
possibly,
me.
Yeah, from the production category of the British touring cars that briefly existed. So Marshall with green flag is at the back of the grid and looks over his shoulder just to make sure there's not a car missing that's snuck in, then waves the green flag, and we're about to get this 15-minute race underway for the Classic Touring Car Racing Club Allcomers race, racing for the Marshals. Sam Wilson and Malcolm Harding, the Aston Martin and the Ford Escort on the front row of the grid. Remember, it's a handicap race, and we, I think, are just having a very slight delay before we see any lights come on. I'm not quite sure what the reason for the delay is, Alan.
No, but we've not seen the marshal at the back of the field with the green flag, and we see a cluster of marshals on...
oh no, 5-second board. Here we go. We're ready to go.
Maybe we were worried about row 4.
A little bit of creeping from Malcolm Harding, so needs to be careful on the outside of the front row of the grid. Sam Wilson goes nowhere. It's not a bad start at all from Michael Saunders, but it's a blistering start from the number 27 Ford Escort in the hands of Martin Reynolds, who is going to be up into third position by the time they get towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. It's Michael Harding that leads the way. It's Mike Saunders in the Ford Escort Mark 1 goes so late and quickly up towards Druids. Is he going to keep it out the gravel? Oh, just about keeps it out the gravel, and amazingly is still in second position. Martin Reynolds is there in third place, and Gary Preble is under attack from Rod Burley for fourth place. The black Beamer getting sideways coming out the corner. Rod Burley is going to go, I think, into the barriers down at the bottom of Graham Hill Bend. So cold tyres, Rod Burley caught out in his own back garden.
Goodness me, yeah, so that's a rarity to see Rod Burley have a problem on the opening lap. It was an astonishing feat. Mike Saunders was so quick off the line in the lime green Escort, and then to go so wide all the way around Druids and to not have a problem was spectacular. Escorts, that's what they do, isn't it?
Yeah, so Rob Burley out of the tyre wall and is limping the car back into the rear entrance of the pit lane, so he is out of the race. The West Kingsdown resident, so he lives just outside the gates of Brands Hatch, knows this place like the back of his hand, but very, very uncharacteristic mistake there from Rod Burley. We've also got Ford Escort Mark 1 running very wide down at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend and making contact with the barriers, and I think that might be the number 47 car of H. Harvey that has nosed into the barriers down there as well, so he's also had a problem. But for the lead of the race, it is Malcolm Harding that leads on the road. Remember, this is from Michael Saunders at the wheel of that V8 engined Ford Escort Mark 1 that was going so well in yesterday's race before it was red flagged early.
So across the line come the Escorts into Paddock Hill Bend, and with now 4 laps completed by our race leader after the handicap, we have the leading car number 118. So it's number 118 that leads, 4 laps already in the book. This is with the handicaps being applied, of course. A retirement for Rod Burley, sadly going over towards... It's very, very rare that you actually see a car go off and hit the barrier over here so far after the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. These are very pacey cars, very quick cars indeed, and that could have potentially been a lot worse than it was for Rod Burley. It seemed to be just a little bit of bodywork damage at the left rear of the car.
It was, yeah. I mean, thankfully, yeah, he skidded off out of harm's way. Had he spun into the middle of the pack, that could have been yet an entirely different story. So there, over the start-finish line goes the leaders on the road, Malcolm Harding and Michael Saunders, but they are already 3 laps adrift of the car that was given the largest handicap, and that is the number 118 BMW, the 1800 Ti, that harks back to what the 1960s, 1970s of Nathan Beresford. So that car, when the lights went out, was already 3 laps ahead of those that were starting from pole position. So that's what they have to do. Malcolm Harding and Michael Saunders need to do 3 more laps in this race than the blue BMW does, and that's how the handicap will work its way out over the course of the remaining 12 or so minutes.
So let's see, the last lap for Beresford was a 63.229. What of the front runners? A 51.794 is the fastest lap of the race, and that has gone the way of Samuel Wilson, the number 20 car. So it is quite a speed differential, not quite as great as the speed differential that we saw on circuit yesterday, but a huge speed differential nonetheless. So this might work. We've got 11 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and if you take into account the handicaps, the BMW heading round through Graham Hill Bend now is leading the race, and the Alfa Sud is second at the moment. Those are first and second in reality, and you can see that the cars that are leading on the road are just coming up to take a lap off them. So through goes Malcolm Harding in ahead of the Alfa Sud. He's about to go through and ahead of Nathan Beresford's BMW 1800 Ti. So that is one of the 3 laps now back. So they are now just 2 laps adrift of those cars and have 10 minutes in which to lap them 2 more times to take up the lead of the race.
Yeah, so this is it is going to work as expected. It's quite a complicated science for a handicapper to work these races out, and also there are a number of different ways that you could start the race as far as gridding the cars up. The way that we have elected to go this weekend, I say we've had nothing to do with it, but race control and race admin have had all of the work to do, is the fastest cars at the front, and then the handicap applied once the cars come across the line and break the timing beam for the first time. So 10 minutes remain on the clock now. 7 laps completed, including the handicap laps for car number 118. That is your race leader. Second is the number 64 car, Keith Evans, and the gap between the two of them, 1.2 seconds. But the leaders are charging down across the line.
Over the start-finish line now goes the number 17 car. Now, if you were here yesterday, you'll have seen Will Davidson driving a different BMW. His 325 had head gasket failure yesterday, so the little compact that he's now behind the wheel of is Sam Strong's car. So he's borrowed that car from Sam Strong with the thanks of King's Customs, who have wrapped that car and provided support for him today to take over it. So it's an entirely different car to who was racing yesterday. So Malcolm Harding, busy part of the race, trying to thread his way through the traffic. And that's another difficult thing that the handicappers need to take into account, of course, is that you can look at an individual lap time of a car, but you need to look into how that lap time is going to ebb and flow through the traffic and make some considerations for that as well, Alan, don't you?
Yeah, and it's quite wonderful when you have this kind of speed differential to see that when it's working, when the likes of seeing the 2 leaders on the road essentially making their way past the slower cars. It's mighty to watch, isn't it? And as they make their way up towards Druids, that's another one of the features of a handicap race. They are forever race long dealing with traffic.
You were waxing lyrical about the Capris yesterday. Well, Stuart Kye very nearly had a bent Capri there because he was so sideways coming out of Graham Hill Bend. And as he was that sideways, he nearly got cleaned out by the Ford Fiesta that was trying to sneak his way through and past him. So that was a close moment there for number 45, the triplex backed Ford Capri of Stuart Kye. Here he comes over the start-finish line now, having just lost the place to, was it Fiesta? Yes, it was, the Fiesta.
It's a peculiar thing, a Ford Capri. When I was a young man, I really wanted to own a Ford Capri. It was too much money, essentially. It was beyond my abilities to buy it, so I had a Talbot Sunbeam. So all these years later, I would now like to buy a Ford Capri. They're still too much money. They have gone up tenfold over the years, but they're still too much money.
Lock brakes from Stuart Kye again at the wheel of that Capri. As for our race leader, Malcolm Harding, on the road, is just coming down in towards the braking area for Graham Hill Bend. Sideways is Michael Saunders at the wheel of his Ford Escort Mark 1 in second position on the road, but now he has got bottled right up behind him Sam Wilson at the wheel of the beautiful Aston Martin. So the Ford Escort and the Aston Martin squabbling away for what is on the road second and third position. Where are they now when you take into account the handicap? How far up the order are they? Through comes Malcolm Harding over the start-finish line, and that time through, Malcolm Harding is only just inside the top 20 still, at this stage.
And the Aston Martin has gone through as well. It didn't get off the line particularly well, did it? So now it has been able to make up for that rather slow start. Has got past the Escort. We've got a car off into the gravel at Druids. I can't see which car it is from here.
It looks like the Ford Fiesta again that was doing battle with Stuart Kye.
Oh dear. Well, it's well off, isn't it, at Druids? So
it is,
up towards the tyre barrier, I think.
Now, remember the BMW and the Alfa Sud, car number 118 and 64 respectively, were fighting for the lead of the race. Nathan Beresford and Keith Evans, by the time you take the handicaps into account, well, just about to lap them again now is Malcolm Harding, the race leader on the road. So that is now the second of those 3 laps that he's got back. So he's now got 6 minutes, Alan, to do another lap to get onto turns with them, to then take the place away.
It's going to work out perfectly. If we are under green flag racing for the rest of the race, we are in the second third of the race now, and another lap has been taken out. So we've got 1/3 to do the final lap. So this should, in theory, all work very well. Should work perfectly.
It certainly should, yeah. Just to confirm, it is Robert Taylor's Ford Fiesta that is in the gravel trap up there at Druids. So that is going no further in the race. We're covered by localised yellows at this stage. So when we take the handicaps into account, it is still the number 118 BMW that leads the way by half a second from the Alfa Sud. And then third should be number 86, which is Colin Claxton. But I think Colin Claxton has made some good progress on that lap and may well have hoisted himself further up through the order at the wheel of his car.
Look at this, the Aston Martin on the back now. So as they go around Paddock Hill Bend, it's very, very close for the cars that have started at the front of the field that we expect by the end of the race to be vying for being first across the line and the checkered flag. So very, very exciting. Really making up now in the Aston Martin, Samuel Wilson, for the slightly slow off the line, right on the back of the number 10 car.
Yeah, so absolutely nose to tail. They'll head as they work their way down the Cooper Straight and through Surtees and then on towards McLaren. As for Malcolm Harding, well, he is going to want to try and see if he can hang on to this lead on the road, because subject to the pace that they're setting, they could well be on for an overall victory and overcome the handicap. Samuel Wilson looks one way, looks the other, but the lighter, the more nimble Ford Escort onto the brakes and towards Paddock Hill Bend is always going to have the advantage, Alan.
Great little battle this, isn't it? Sorry, I called him number 10. It's number 101 as they head up towards Druids. They've got plenty of traffic to deal with on this lap. At the moment, they're pretty much on their own, so the Aston Martin can have a look down on the inside going into Graham Hill Bend. Side by side they are. The Aston Martin slides through as they go onto the Cooper Straight, but now they've got some 6 cars, I think, all having a battle of their own.
Into the lead of the race now has gone the number 86 Ford Escort. So that is Colin Claxton now, the silver Ford Escort Mark 1 with the yellow and the black stripes down it. That has taken up the lead of the race since getting past both the Alfa Romeo and the BMW. Here he comes over the start-finish line now. So this is the car that now leads on handicap heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend. And that was very close as Sam Wilson was looking to try and carve his way through the traffic.
Yeah, sorry, did I make a noise? Yes, I think I did. That was ever so tight, wasn't it? And the Jaguar goes off onto the gravel, bounces over the gravel going up towards Druids, gets back on the circuit, so no recovery required for the Jaguar, but that was all just a little bit close your eyes and hope, wasn't it?
It certainly was, yeah. Colin Claxton, who leads on handicap, is about to be overtaken by the Aston Martin, which leads on the road, but that will mean that the Aston Martin still has 1 extra lap to do, so is in reality now just unlapping himself from that Ford Escort and should be able to just squeeze the throttle in a straight line and go past onto the Brabham Straight. So this is not a change for the lead. This is the Aston Martin and the number 101 Ford Escort now unlapping themselves from the race leader and the handicap and getting themselves onto the same lap as it with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go.
Perhaps not long enough. Perhaps not long enough. 2.5 minutes as they are working well together. The two of them have such power and such pace.
As Colin, he loses out again there. Malcolm Harding was so late on the brakes, Alan, heading up in towards Druids. He's got back through ahead of the Aston.
The Aston immediately wants to fire back, and they've still got plenty of traffic to deal with as well. So a great little dogfight between these two. I just fancy they've not got long enough, have they?
No, I think maybe the handicap has played in favour maybe of Colin Claxton a little bit this time through, because he is quite comfortably leading at the moment, the number 86 Ford Escort, but Malcolm Harding and Sam Wilson will still keep pushing hard. Sam Wilson's going to draw himself back ahead of the Ford Escort. Is he in a straight line? Yes, the extra gun to the Aston Martin tells. He goes back through to take up the lead of the race on the road.
It's mighty, isn't it?
But they've not pulled that far away from the number 86 Escort in that lap, have they?
No, they've not, no.
So it's looking as though Colin Claxton is going to be the winner on handicap.
It does rather. The number 86 machine it is that's your race leader. 1.5 minutes we have yet to go, and the good news about this is that we haven't had interruptions during the race. We've not had the need for safety cars to be recovered. This has gone all the way.
It certainly has, and we've now got just 70 seconds remaining on the clock.
Not that I'm bitter or anything, but have you got any idea how much a 2.8 injection could cost us now?
I wouldn't know. A nicer mid one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's got to be 20,000, isn't it?
More.
Is it?
Yeah.
Crumbs. Out of my budget then, I'm afraid, Alan. Out of my budget.
Very disappointing. Really disappointing.
And if it were one of the Brooklands ones or the Tickford ones, then it would be even more expensive. Or the 280, yeah, the limited edition ones. So through goes number 86, Colin Claxton. Another lap completed. He should be on to his final lap this next time through. So the number 86 Ford Escort, yeah, I think has been looked upon kindly by the timekeepers. The way it's just panned out has played in his favour.
Yeah, it has. It's quite a science to get it, exactly right. And sometimes maybe they'll say, no, we needed another couple of laps. Yes, exactly right.
Clive Hainsford retiring the Mazda RX-8. The rotary engine machine pulls off on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, so he is going to be out of the race, I'm afraid. So that's Clive Hainsford out of the race. But for number 86, Colin Claxton, he is about to thread his way out of Clearways up towards Clark Curve, and the win is going to be a reasonably handsome one in the end. He is about to take the checkered flag now over the start-finish line for our CTCRC Allcomers race, racing for the Marshals here at Brands Hatch. Colin Claxton claims the win. In second, I think actually it's going to be probably car number 20 that will finish in a second position. It's always going to be one of the last of the cars to take the checkered flag, but Samuel Wilson now at the wheel of his Aston Martin, I think is now running second, and Malcolm Harding, who he's been battling with, I think will be right behind him for third place potentially. We'll have to wait and see. Let's have a look now. Beresford comes through, doesn't he? Yeah, the BMW takes the checkered flag now, which was given more laps handicap than anybody, so that will finish in second place, car number 118, and it will be the Alpha Sud of Keith Evans that will finish in third place. It's going to be fourth and fifth for these two cars here, Sam Wilson and Malcolm Harding, is it? So right, so just looking at the way the handicap works its way through. No, it is indeed the Aston Martin that finishes in second position. So Colin Claxton, number 86, wins the race. We said it was confusing. Number 20, which is Samuel Wilson, finishes in second position. Third is going to go the way of car number 101, Malcolm Harding. Fourth will go the way of car number 62 in the end, that finishes in fourth position. And that will come through and finish in fourth place. That's Tom Abbott with the Ford Sierra. Fifth place will be the BMW of Nathan Beresford, and completing the top six will be car number 64, which is Keith Evans in the Alpha Sud. And that gives you the order of the top six in the Classic Touring Car Racing Club Allcomers race, racing for the Marshals here this weekend at Brands Hatch.